Hi everyone, I'm Brian with Reporting Hub, and today is a very exciting day because we are giving a first look of our brand new AI tool, BI Genius. So what is BI Genius? BI Genius is a white label, no code, plug and play agent creation platform that allows you to create conversational AI agents that work with the business intelligence data you're already using today. It allows your users to have natural language conversations with your data, ask questions, get analysis, provide summaries of their business intelligence content, and deliver that to your end users. BI Genius deploys to your Azure environment just like the Reporting Hub does. It allows you to maintain complete control of your data, have complete control over security, access, and all of the compliance that comes with that. So enough talking, let's jump into my laptop and I want to show you exactly what BI Genius can do for you today. Okay, so I have BI Genius open right now, and you can see that I have a new area in my admin settings called BI Genius Admin. So right now I'm in the back end side of things where I'm actually going to go and create, configure, and manage my agents. So you'll see that I have kind of three tabs here. I have my UI design tab, my agent admin tab, and my query logic tab. And we'll go through each one of these in a bit more detail to explain how everything works and how you use it. So from a UI design tab, this is where I'm going to go and determine the look and feel and set up the white labeling aspect of my agents. So here's where I can come and choose the colors that I may want. I can add my own colors. I can set the different colors for the background, the header, that kind of thing. I can choose different logos for my widget button, which is what appears when it's surfaced on a content page within Reporting Hub. So that's what your user is going to click on to open up the chat interaction. And then I have my actual bot kind of agent preview here on the right as well. So I want to choose a different image for my header logo. And in this case, I'm actually going to choose this image. And you can, of course, customize this with however you want. You can come in and choose which font you'd like. You can actually upload a custom font as well. And your welcome description is what's going to appear in your kind of main message body of the agent itself. So right now I have an example here where, hi, I'm BI Genius, your personal AI insights companion. And this, of course, is completely customizable to whatever you would like to write there. You also have complete control over the footer. So you can have some footer text, you can put a footer image, you can actually turn on a hyperlink so that you can link that footer to maybe a docs page or maybe your website as an example. We also have an area to put a disclaimer or additional bit of information. And in the case we're using it now, we've added a disclaimer that says, hey, I'm an AI assistant, I'm here to help, but I might not always be accurate and I might not always give correct information, so please verify. This is an example of where you can put some information to direct your users to potentially some information or knowledge base or that kind of thing as well. So once I've gone and I've set up the basic look and feel of my agent, I can come in and I can actually create an agent. So in my agent admin panel here, you can see I have two agents I've already created. Now I'll go through these in a bit more detail, but let's start from scratch and create a new one. And then I'll come back and talk about a few things of the ones I've already created. So very simply, I can just say add agent. And this is where I'm going to define all the parameters of this agent. This is where I'm going to, number one, give it a name, but I'm also going to determine what data sources I want this agent to run on. And I'm also going to determine the specific logic and instructions I want to give this agent. So I'm going to come in and create a, let's call it my CEO agent. And this agent is going to be specifically to give insights to my C-suite of executives. And maybe I have a dedicated environment for those executives or some dedicated reports that I want to create an agent that focuses just on that. So in this case, I can give it a name and a title. I'm going to just say your insights companion. Next, I can determine which data sources. Now, when I click add data sources, you're going to see I have different types to choose from. I have my Power BI data sources, which is going to be your semantic models. I also have the ability to add a SQL database, a URL or a website, and I can actually upload a file as well. And all of these different data sources can be, you can pick one or you can pick multiple. It's up to you which data sources you want to give the agent access to. So in this case, we're going to create a simple one. We're going to create one with just a single semantic model, but you can have an agent that runs off multiple semantic models, a semantic model and a SQL database, a semantic model and an Excel file maybe if you wanted to upload that. But in this case, let's choose Power BI. I'm going to select the workspace that I would like to access, and I know that's in this workspace. And I know the one I want to access is called regional sales sample, so I'm going to choose that. And this is going to be the semantic model that I'm going to plug into. You'll see that it automatically created a base dataset configuration for me. And what that means is it's actually picking up the dataset configuration from Power BI, so it's going to include all of my synonyms and column descriptions and that kind of thing with my semantic model. It's going to pull those into BI Genius for me. So I'm actually going to click confirm, and then it's going to go and add that data source to my agent. Now I'll come back and I'll show you the idea of creating a custom one in just a moment. I can also come in and add suggested prompts. This is where you can come in and customize the user experience. So if you know that this is a regional sales example, you might want to add prompts here that say, which sales rep had the highest sales last quarter, as an example. And you can leave that as a suggested prompt so that it engages with your audience and gets them to kind of click and see how it all works. I'll put another one here that says provide an analysis of product sales. And for that, I'm going to save that. You'll see that it accepted my data source here. So at this point, I want to come in and I want to create a custom configuration. So I'm going to edit that. And earlier I said, we had this idea of this base configuration, so I can view that. And that base configuration is going to give me all the columns and tables that are within this semantic model. And you can see that it pulled in my synonyms and my descriptions if I had any. In this case, I didn't. It's also going to build me a AI generated summary of this data source. So whether this is SQL, a URL, or whatever the data source is, the AI is going to come in and build an automated AI summary of that. And the reason this is built is that when you have a multiple agentic workflow, the agent needs to understand which data source is used for what. So you can see it gives a lot of information. It goes into a lot of detail around, what are the actual insights in this data source? What are the relationships? What are the limitations of scope in that? Some nuances of the data format within that. And this is all AI generated. But what if I wanted to create a custom one? In a custom configuration, I can say add configuration. And in this case, I'm going to call this one just my custom config. Now I want to select that and I want to edit it. Now what a custom configuration allows me to do is this is where I can now go and add my own descriptions and my own synonyms and any other information I might want to add. So here's an example where I can add in additional contextual information into my data source that doesn't necessarily have to exist within Power BI. This becomes especially important when we're dealing with non-semantic model data sources like a SQL database as an example, where it's not necessarily going to have the context and the descriptive nature that a semantic model write. So this is where you can come in and actually add that contextual level information to your data sources. So you can come in and say, accounts, these are my companies that we do business with, as an example. And you can come and put all these different things in, you can save that, and it will then generate a unique data summary based on the additional context you gave it. So I'm not actually going to do that right now, I just want to explain that so that I can actually go back and forth between different custom configurations to see which ones are giving me the best results. Now I've got my agent basically built and I can actually start using it. I can actually say, okay, we'll provide a product analysis of product sales. I can actually start interacting with this agent. So I haven't published it, I haven't made it available to anybody, but as an administrator, I can go in and start seeing how it works. So when I've set up my basic agent and I've got it plugged into my data source, I've set up some suggested prompts, now I want to come in and maybe I want to give it additional context. So earlier we spoke to the idea of data source context, and that's where I'm giving context to my individual data sources, so additional descriptions, additional synonyms. But when I want to give instructions to my agent as a whole, this is where I come and do that under this instruct area. So this is where I can give the agent specific instructions and additional context. So here's we give you an example saying our corporate year-end date is December 31st for all financial reporting as an example. So in this case, let's say, let's tell it some instructions. We want to say you're a CEO level agent to provide brief overviews and insights into our organization data. So I want to add that. Maybe I'll also want to say, if you don't know the answer, direct the user to support. So this is where I can give it specific information, specific instructions, and maybe I want to have an instruction that actually applies to all my agents. So rather than have to go and add that to each one of my agents, I can just simply click this apply to all agents, and then it will apply that instruction or context to all my agents. So additional context would be something, high level, potentially something like, our business sells mountain bikes, as an example, just to help give that agent additional context and understanding of how it should be answering some of these questions. So I'm going to make that change. I'm going to save that. Now I've given my agent all the information I need. I'm effectively done. I've created my agent. Now I can test it. I can use it on the side here. But now I want to actually surface that agent on a report. So just like I do in reporting up today, I go into manage content. In this case, I want to add this to my sales insight report. You'll see a new toggle here called BI Genius. Now I can turn that on, and it's going to allow me to identify the agent that I want to surface on that content page. Here's where I can say, okay, in this case, I want to actually add my CEO agent. And I can define specific permissions for this agent, and you'll see there's an additional field that comes up to say, do you want to give this a security group or user permissions to the BI Genius widget, and also the query logic. And I'll speak more to query logic in a moment. But this is where I can define individual level permissions over who can see the agent and what access they have. So I'm going to save that. And now when I go and access that report, and you can see I have my widget here, so my agent is now surfaced on my content page. My user can now click that and engage and interact with that AI level of insight. So we're going to jump back into the BI Genius admin, and we're going to take a closer look at query logic. So within query logic, from an administrator perspective, this is where I can come in and understand what is happening underneath the hood, behind the scenes of my BI Genius admin. This is where I can actually go take a look at all the user sessions, all the prompts, all the generated answers from BI Genius, so I can be able to explain that, understand the logic, understand why I came up with the answers it did. But more importantly, it's going to allow me to work with my end users to understand and answer their questions. So let's pretend I got a question from one of my users, and I know they were using this agent yesterday or earlier today. I can select their individual session. I can see that they entered a prompt here that said provide a revenue analysis of product sales. It gave them an answer of all the different product sales. I can then go ahead and click on show query logic, and it is going to give me the detailed AI model output logic where I can see exactly what the AI did in order to come up with that answer. It's going to give me some natural language information, things like the objective, the metadata it used, the plan it built, the specific steps and relationships it used within my model to derive at the answer. And it's depending on the type of data source, it's going to give me the DAX statement for Power BI or the actual SQL statement that I can actually copy and paste if I want to drop that back into my Power BI report as an example. But I can actually see in detail exactly why and how the model derived at that answer. And this will then allow me to give proper answers and dig into and potentially troubleshoot some of the questions that you're more than likely to receive. Now, BI Genius will be available to all reporting customers as a download for a free trial. So look out for it, and you can install it and try it out.